This phone is just not staying up this week. Hey guys, how you doing? That would help if I... This phone is just not staying up this week. Hey guys, how you doing?
Do I have a second pen? We're going to run inside and grab a pen.
Yep.
Okay.
We'll get it, guys. Damn. Just as bad as Adam in first week we were doing this. I hope I'm not making everybody seasick. Stay. All right, guys, we'll be getting started in the next couple of minutes. Just one moment. I'm waiting for Jim to come back. And we do a great interview. Don't know if you guys had checked on social media, but we have a great interview for you guys. And I think that the way everything is going this week, everything should be on YouTube this week. It didn't tape last week. So, the joys of taping live. Hey, it is a live taping though, right? So,
All right, Tim.
all righty. Here we go. We should move my screen back a little. Of course, I do that, I mess up the phone. There we go. All right, that's better. All right, here we go. Episode 13, AFL Tonight, in 3, 2, 1. And welcome to AFL Tonight. This is ArenaFan.com's weekly look at everything arena football. I'm Tim Capper. Sitting in for Adam again this week, Jim Robinson. Welcome back, Jim.
Thank you for having me again.
Both of you and I last week, we basically blasted. Records were going to fall for the LA KISS, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And no. I think we were all surprised, Jim, that LA was able to control San Jose the way they did, kept scoring down the amount of stops. Meyer threw for 3 interceptions. They were a stunning 32-point underdog in this game, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the largest spread that we've ever seen come from an Arena Football League game once betting started to become mainstream again. I think the question's been going across the league, social media, everywhere. In your opinion, is this the biggest upset in Arena Football League history? And if not, what is?
Oh. I wish I had known this question was coming. I might have done a little research.
I tried to do some myself.
Recent history, yes, by all means.
Yeah.
Do I think it is all time? I don't know.
People might throw in the Columbus-Dallas game, playoff game, that could be one of the biggest upsets. We have Vegas and Arizona just earlier this year. I would still rank the LA win over that game, even though Vegas is a true expansion team.
I will say this. Anyone that says they picked against San Jose is a liar.
Yeah.
Points or not, there's no one, you can't tell me anyone seriously thought LA was going to beat San Jose. Kudos to the KISS, man. Good job. But I didn't think that was going to happen. Now, I didn't know the extent of the injuries that the Democrats had on the roster either. But to be honest, that one is, it's easy to say that after the fact. That really would not have changed my mind. I still would have picked San Jose. Just not with all those points.
No, I know. And then we hear, after we finished the broadcast last week, that AD Mack gets picked up. He's placed on other league exempt, and he's picked up by the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. So on top of that, we did not know that Danny Southwick was going to be their starting quarterback. I don't think it would have been. I think there would have been a little bit more scoring if AD Mack had been under center. But I don't know. This is a San Jose team that, if I'm not mistaken, is scoring very close to 60 points a game. But yet, the LA defense, I can't believe I'm saying this, the LA defense was actually dominated this game.
Yeah, you took it a step further with AD Mack. We didn't find out until the day or the night of after the broadcast. That's a huge impact, too. Most dynamic player in the league. Gone, off the roster. And yet they still put up enough points to beat San Jose. They came to the game with the best defense in the league.
Yeah. It was just a complete and utter surprise. We felt that it was very apropos that we're doing this week because of what LA did. A little bit later on, you will hear the interview that I did earlier today with defensive back Rayshaun Kizer, who was an integral part in this win versus the formerly undefeated San Jose SaberCats. Enough so that he was able to get one of the league defensive awards this past week. And we'll listen to that, in a little bit. So, it's you look at what has occurred for LA these past couple weeks. 2 weeks ago, they go ahead and they break their long streak of home losses, which is second all time, tied second all time in league history. They just this past week, they went for the first time at home in 15 games, and their 14-game losing streak is also, well, it's not a league record, but it is now the number 2 streak of futility in the Arena Football League. Now, you see streaks like this and losses like this, of this magnitude. It's been a while since we've seen something like this, but from what it seems, with all the change, with the way that the changes have been made with this LA team, they have a huge matchup versus Philadelphia coming up. And it was nationally televised on top of that, so it's huge. It's absolutely huge. So it's, I don't know. I'm stunned. Just talking about this, Jim. Talking about LA, I am stunned. I mean, it's, I finished watching the game and I sit back and I go, what the hell just happened?
You were talking last week about what a big deal, or whether it's a big deal that San Jose undefeated and they clinched so soon.
You're right.
And you know what? LA beat them, and you had asked what was bigger in my mind, and I thought LA's victory was bigger than San Jose being undefeated. Well, I guess they heard me and they went up me on that.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm sure everybody in the league has said 32 points. That's a huge thing, and it's. I just don't know where to go with this one. I mean, what do you, the fans, would you call this game one of the biggest upsets in Arena Football League history? Would you? I mean, it has to be at least top 5 in my opinion. I'm trying to think of other games here. Off the top of my head, I know you've been you were in the league for quite a while too, and nothing. I'm trying to think of something that really sticks out. I don't think we've ever had. We tried to do quite a bit of research on this prior to the show. for a team, for LA to be a -8 in wins, for San Jose to be a +11, it mind-boggling, absolutely mind-boggling. So I don't think I've ever been speechless.
I can't think of a game. I'm sure if I got online right now and I kind of put around, I might find one or two.
Yeah.
But give it up to the Jets. They played ball. They played their game. They're still fighting. To me, that's the biggest thing to take from this is they're still fighting.
Yeah.
And do I think that they're going to run the pit? No. Are they going to win out the rest of the year? No. Might they get slaughtered again? Yes. But they're fighting. And to me, that's the biggest and most important thing. And in a locker room, when you're losing, there's a difference when you walk in there and you're losing and you've played hard and you fought well.
Right.
Versus you come in the locker room and you lay down. And nobody wants to be a part of that. That isn't any fun whatsoever. Where you're fighting, yeah, you can get frustrated, but you can take solace in the fact that, hey, we're being competitive and we're playing. Good for LA. They need it. It's great for the league. It's great for the market. And you know what? I think, that exposed San Jose a little bit. They were looking like a juggernaut heading into that game. And, well, they have some issues. They have an injured quarterback now. They have some injured players on the offensive line.
Yep.
Injuries at wide receiver. The offense isn't clicking. And apparently the defense isn't a brick wall. They're not stalwart. You can't get to them.
And if you bring up the thing, and I have not read anything yet, so maybe you have a little more information on the Eric Meyer thing. We saw him go down. Was it overtime that we saw him go down? It looked,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it looked like an ankle. It looked like something. Obviously, it had to do with his leg, foot, ankle. I've not seen anything. I know people have talked about that it is a quote-unquote major injury. Have you heard anything, any update on what it might be, even if it is considered more than a lower body injury? Have you heard anything?
No, I to be honest, I didn't even check or bother to try and find out. I was watching the game with you guys, and I just kind of assumed looking at it looked like an ankle injury, and at the very least he might miss a game. I don't see him missing more than a couple. I didn't think to check up on it, to be honest, so I'm not sure. But yeah, I agree with you. It looked like an ankle, and fortunately for San Jose, they have a capable backup, and if they're going to make a run, they need Meyer back in the lineup. They have the luxury of Stanley back there, and that plays well for them.
And that's a huge plus, having Nathan Stanley. And it's like earlier this year and a few years back when Nathan did the exact same thing coming in, in relief. So they seem to be in good hands.
Yeah, and they don't have a tough slate the rest of the year either. So
yeah.
They really only have, we didn't think LA would win, but they did. But they only have one tough challenge on the slate remaining, and that's Arizona, and they have Arizona at home. So
right, and what was just pointed out to me, which I was going to mention too, is that considering how poor this division is and how they're this close to making the playoffs.
I think somebody was maybe I don't know if I was talking to you or I was talking to someone was saying how LA virtually is eliminated as of 2 weeks ago, and then they rip off two in a row, and now you look at it and you go, they can still get in.
Yes, yeah, I know. And what's funny, San Jose clinches a divisional spot, and then I guess a lot of people would say, yes, it's good that they got this loss out of the way. But yeah, I know we've mentioned it before, and I'm not going to rehash it again when it comes to weak division stuff, but Coach Mack does have a chance. He seems to has pulled all these pieces together and all these changes that he's made. Very good chance, at least in the moment, to make the playoffs. And I was one who wrote them off. Thought they were going to go over. So, but, speaking of, we're talking about AD Mac, and this has actually become a very hot button topic also this week. Now, it has occurred many a time in the Arena Football League, and I know there are a lot of people who are A, against it, and B, for it. Most of the fans that I've spoken with are against it when it comes to a team that is doing well, and it's during the playoff race. Okay, and I'll give a good example where a player leaving did not hinder, and that was Brian Burkowski last year of the Cleveland Gladiators. He went to he signed on with the Montreal Alouettes, and Cleveland went on to go 17-1. Now, LA, as we just mentioned before, lost their starting quarterback, Adrian McPherson, to the Toronto Argonauts. Now, basically what we're trying to determine here, when it comes to players going to the other leagues during the season. Now, Jim, you have, in your history with the Tampa Bay Storm, you have had the opportunity to deal or see this being dealt with. You losing a major player, but you would consider a major player going to either the NFL or going to the CFL. Now, people do need to remember, by the way, that this is not just something that happens. This is actually written, and it was written in the previous one before the league folded, and it is written into the current collective bargaining agreement, section 13.3, if I'm not mistaken, of the current agreement, which allows them to get out of their contract to basically further their career. Now, Jim, when it came to the Storm, or when it comes to players in general, how do you feel when a player goes? I mean,
it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
You're happy when one of your guys gets an opportunity to showcase his talent, to more people in a bigger audience. But at the same time, if typically the player you're going to lose is an integral part of the team and the success that you've had up to that point in the season.
Right.
And that can be a tough blow to a team. Well, let's not kid ourselves. LA is not the same team with Southwick at quarterback than with McPherson in there. And Danny's a great guy. I really like him. He's not as dynamic as McPherson, but that doesn't mean he can't get it done. But bottom line is if you're trying to get certain type of players on your team, and you want guys that are NFL caliber guys, and for some reason maybe they were too short, a tad too slow, they didn't fit the mold of the eye test of what a player should look like,
right?
Or they're a great white and they haven't quite evolved yet. You want those players on your team, but at the same time, you're only going to get those players and continue to get those players if you allow them to go. Right. And there's no getting around that. And let's not trick ourselves. Not all these guys have agents, but some of them do. Some of these guys were NFL guys or had a shot at the NFL, and they have an agent, and their agents understand that. They steer guys to teams in the AFL where they think their talents can be developed to give them another shot or their first shot back in the NFL.
Right. Burkowski's a good example. McPherson. I'm trying to think of some players here off the top of my head that have made huge strides.
Greg Ellingson.
Yeah, I'll go there. Thank you. There's another one. Yeah, Greg Ellingson. Yeah, of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. You knew that very well yourself, obviously, because he played for the Tampa Bay Storm. There were other players that have gone through the Arena Football League system. I'll get that out. that have become big names. And anybody who follows football or even Canadian football, if you know the name Ricky Ray started in the AF2 with San Diego Riptide. Same thing with Chad Owens of the Toronto Argonauts.
Started with Andy Lou Kuznak?
Yep, that was, yep. So he was there with Andy, if I remember correctly. But there are other many players that we've seen that come here. Marty Gilliard is another guy. He got a taste with Jacksonville, came to the CFL with Montreal. Unfortunately, he's had a rough time ever since coming here. He's hurt again. Many a player. Now, I can understand a team that is not in the playoff race, and 80 Mac, a good example there. At least, a team that was over, a 1 for on the year at the time. But then there are players like a Brian Bukowski and stuff like that. Yes, I know we're trying to further their career, give them a shot, whether they come back to the AFL or not. But could there be a little bit more motivation these days? I mean, besides going to the next level, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about here, Jim. It's the greenback. It's the almighty dollar that's allowing them to go. You're not playing for IFL type of money, which is a lot less than it is in the AFL. But if you're if you're an 80, go ahead.
I was going to say there's no doubt about that. Especially with, we had talked about this earlier, pre-show, the new CBA and the Canadian Football League, the change in agreement between the AFL and the CFL and contracts and how they work and being able to get out of it.
Right.
It used to be, it was a very tough decision for a player. You had to decide, one, you had to have an agent or find someone that was really open and honest about what your potential role was going to be with the team. Maybe you want to speak to this. You would speak more intellectually about it. The difference on CFL rosters and how they're constructed, as far as being an import and an imported player, that has an impact for guys coming from the United States to the Canadian Football League. It has an impact on how much playing time you're going to see. And it can have an impact on the salary you're going to get. And if you're a dominant receiver in the AFL, if you go to a team in the CFL and you're not the top 2 American receivers on the team, you might not dress.
It's true.
And that can have an impact on your decision as well. You got to remember, besides money, there are guys want to go for playing time. Some guys figure, I'm young, let me have fun and go see and be somewhere new.
Right.
Some guys think this might be an opportunity to get additional film, expand my game, broaden my horizons to see if I can get another look at the NFL. But yeah, definitely over the last 2 seasons, that I think the hesitation that an Arena Football League player might have had going to the CFL has certainly diminished over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and a lot of people remember the NFL is completely different than it is with the CFL. With the CFL, with the way the different ratios go, you have to start a certain amount of Canadian players. I have seen some things, and with all honesty, many years that I followed the CFL, it's to figure out how these GMs can figure out how to balance a ratio between international and national players, meaning homegrown nationals and then international, which used to be called imports before they changed the terminology in this recent CBA that was signed in the CFL. And yeah, I would think there would be a huge draw. Obviously, when you look at the money, it's completely different. CFL has a $5.05 million salary cap as of 2015.
That's a significant increase over the last year.
Yeah. Plus, you're making, if I'm not mistaken, things between I think it's $53,000 is a minimum salary for a rookie. So right there and then, it's a huge difference. Now, here's some examples, and I'm curious to see what you, the fans, think, because this, I think, will put this a little bit into perspective. 80 Mac, according to CFL Guru Cap, I think that's what it is, shows that 80 Mac is making $80,000 with the Toronto Argonauts. Now, money for the AFL, and by the way, the money that we're going on, these totals are completely based on what is published. I'm not going to even go into the what ifs, if this person is or is not, you know what I mean. That's all I'm going to, that's all how I'm going to remark about that one. But this is how it is. What I've forgotten about is that there are actually bonuses for rookies and for veterans who sign multi-year contracts in the AFL. Plus, there is a quarterback starting bonus of $300. So if you are a rookie, Jim, go ahead.
Yes.
So if you're a rookie, Jim, and you sign you're making $820 a week. Okay. With, I think if I did the math correctly, it came out to $15,260. Right now, that's a huge difference between that and $80,000. If you're a veteran in the AFL, okay, and this includes the bonuses, you'll be making $16,500 or $16,750. You're thinking, okay, well, as far as I know, that's below the poverty line, right? $16,000 is below the poverty line?
Correct.
Okay. If you're a veteran QB in the AFL, and by the way, I forgot to mention, the bonuses are $500 for a rookie, which is paid weekly, so $500 broken up between 18 games. A veteran for 2-year contract is $750 bonus, and for 3 years, it's $1,000. So do the math. So for a veteran QB in the AFL, and remember, it includes a starting bonus, 2-year contract with a bonus, you get $21,900. Veteran QB with a 3-year contract gets $22,150. And just so we have to at least mention it, rookie QB, which they do from time to time will start, but if a rookie quarterback were to go out there with the entire year, $19,760. So you basically have to, Jim, is to subsidize somehow, because 20 plus weeks you were doing this. You could try and get another job, part-time or whatever it may be. You might be able to talk more about this and how it may work for a player in the AFL. But you either way, now you think people can understand why Adrian McPherson went to the CFL. He's making $80,000. Yeah. He's making $80,000 before taxes.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a big jump, and even if you want to talk about tax rates and everything, and the differences in what they have to pay to live, and that's going to be different from, like you were saying, province to province in Canada. It definitely costs more in the States, but still, that's a significant hike from where they're at right now, or currently where they were at. But maybe you can answer this for me. What is the proposition? Is it if you were to leave and go to Canada and you were put on a practice squad?
Practice squads are very interesting, actually, in the CFL. I have to go back and check the CBA to see what you make, and I think it's half towards the cap. Anybody who's more familiar, and that's funny for me to say this, I think that's what it is. But the interesting thing to the player to being on the practice roster in the CFL is that you can get picked up by any team at any time, Jim. So for whatever reason, if you didn't make the active roster and I place you on my taxi squad, if Edmonton's interested in you, they can pick you up. The catch is they gotta play you for that first week at least.
Yeah. No, that makes sense because when the AFL had practice squads, it was the same thing, similar model. I think that's the trouble that most players in the AFL have when you go up there is there isn't a guarantee that you're going to crack that ratio number
Right.
and be the top American. And if you're not, you get relegated to that practice squad, that taxi squad. And now, all of a sudden, all those advantages you thought you had, you don't. And from my understanding, talking to players throughout the Arena Football League, that there isn't a great track record. Up until at least a year ago,
Right.
there wasn't a great track record of clarity. I don't want to say honesty. Obviously, every front office is different in how it's constructed. Some teams rely, the GM puts the team together and the coach coaches it. Well, if he doesn't like a player, he doesn't start. So that can certainly have an effect. But if you took a poll a year ago with the players in the Arena Football League, they weren't necessarily sold on, hey, this is what I was told would happen in the CFL, and I'm going to feel good about it happening.
Right.
And you got to remember, there is a certain aspect of just being a human being, and some guys, they want to play on the East Coast. Some guys want to play on the West Coast.
Right.
Because they want to be near a team, near family, and that takes a toll. And this is a whole separate step to go across the border and play in Canada. For some people, it's fun, it's cosmopolitan. For other people, man, I'm away from my family. It's a pain in the butt to get back and forth.
Right. No, I get it. So they're always pros and cons, and obviously, you go to the NFL, you don't have to worry about it, because you're getting paid automatically. You're getting paid. I think it's 4 times the amount that you would in the CFL as a rookie. I think is it $200,000 for a rookie in the CFL? I can't remember. In the NFL, I can't remember.
Even some of the future contracts that NFL teams sign players to, you can make more than you do in the Arena Football League.
Okay. I think even sitting on the practice roster too, right?
Oh yeah, if you're a practice squad player the whole year in the NFL, you're making north of $90,000.
Right there. So, we were talking about before about how big this past week's victory for the LA KISS was. Basically, it's, somebody mentioned it shocked the world. It shocked the league, which actually it stunned the league. Well, we felt what better way to gauge what happened, what their feelings were, etc. We were able to talk with defensive back Rayshaun Kizer of the LA KISS. So we're going to play the interview for you, and when we get back, we have a lot more to come here on this week's episode of AFL Tonight. So enjoy the interview.
Quarterback, you got to stay away from this guy. You want to throw his direction, it's very possible you're going to get your ball picked off. On the phone with us now is a player top 3 in career interceptions. Set a league record for most interceptions in a season at 16, and also set the rookie record for interceptions at 12 when he was with the Orlando Predators. Ladies and gentlemen, Rayshaun Kizer. Welcome, Rayshaun.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a very interesting year to start off. You were with the Philadelphia Soul. Then in January, you were assigned to Arizona. Then assigned to New Orleans in March, but then traded to LA on May 25th. This past week, you celebrated your first was it road win in 14 games with a huge win, probably what some are considering the largest win in league history over the formerly unbeaten San Jose SaberCats. First, Rayshaun, let's talk about your season up to before you came to LA. How tough was it to know going from Arizona to New Orleans to be traded and then traded to LA? How was it as far as a mindset for you as a player in the AFL?
It was very tough. I left Philadelphia to put myself in a better position. Mm-hmm. That's why I signed with Arizona. And then, you know, they say it came out to be even a worse position. So it was tough for me going to New Orleans. I never really had high hopes on playing for New Orleans. That's why I asked to get traded out of New Orleans. And New Orleans got me out of there and sent me to LA. Place I really wanted to be. So I feel I can make a difference to help this team win.
Now, obviously, one of the downsides to being with New Orleans, and something that actually you and I talked about earlier in the season, is that because of your status and when you were traded, unfortunately, your 86-game consecutive games played streak was snapped. Something that I guess you mentioned to me that you had not even known or been told about. As a player, playing that many games in a row, you know, considering where it had started, is it something that you want to know as a player, or is it more a team versus a player thing?
Yeah, we really don't keep up with that type of stuff as players. I find a lot of my information out about the internet, about arena football and ArenaFan. So I never knew about that consecutive game. I mean, that's something like you told me. Yeah. So I wish I could have kept the streak going, honestly, but it wasn't in my plans this year. So, like I said, I'm going to start another streak.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we're going to talk about LA. You seem to be thriving. You know, you got that award this past week for, I think, Defensive Player of the Week. And as I said, 2 weeks in a row, the LA KISS team, which a lot of fans, you know, and I will admit, including myself, really have not given it a fair chance to. But with the streak that was broken 2 weeks ago and getting your first home win in almost a year, getting your first road win last week, and as I said before, one of the biggest probably upsets in league history, everything seems to be turning around for you and the LA KISS.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. You got to give hats off to Joe, our CEO. He, over the bye week, he made a lot of changes by bringing in a lot of new faces around it to change, you know, the organization around, trying to head into a different direction. That's the direction we're trying to go into. And, you know, a lot of people still sleeping on the LA KISS. They still think we're the 0-9 team that was before the bye week, but we are a much improved team now. As you can see, we won the last 2 games, and, you know, we're looking forward to winning more games down the stretch.
Right. Now, starting this past week also, which I'm sure was something that really didn't help. You've heard that your quarterback at the starting of the year, Adrian McPherson, had been signed by the Toronto Argonauts to the CFL. What is the mindset for the team? I know you're on defense, but for team-wise, everything that the team has gone through, you know, over the past year and a half and when you've been there, losing a quarterback of this caliber, did it affect the team any, or was it just, you know what, it's done, what's done is done, let's go and support our new quarterback?
I mean, first off, anytime you lose a quarterback like A-Mac, I mean, it's going to be a big hurt to the team.
Right.
A-Mac brings, you know, a different dimension to the team. I mean, to the team, he brings throwing in a running option. But like I said, in this game, it's the next game up. So we have total 100% faith and confidence in Danny Southwick. You know, we believe that he can get the job done just as well as A-Mac. So, you know, we believe in Danny. Everybody in this organization believes in Danny. So he's got to go out there and do his job, and we do. We got to go on defense to stop.
And which you guys actually have done. I mean, it's watching the game this past week, which I was able to do, was absolutely outstanding. It just seemed that you defensively really held San Jose in check, and being able to push them to overtime and to get that first road win in quite a while, it must have been one hell of a feeling.
Yeah, it was. It was for me, but you know, in the past, I mean, I've beaten San Jose in my past when I played with Philadelphia, so it wasn't no surprise to me when I beat them personally.
Okay.
But for the organization,
right.
But from the organization standpoint, I think it was pretty good for the organization. I think it was much needed to gain some respect from the league, because I feel like the league has been disrespecting the LA KISS, and you know, just for Coach Bob. You know, Coach Bob needed, because Coach Bob is one. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
He really is, and I think he get overlooked a lot, and I think a lot of people talk down on him. He really is a great coach, and he's doing the right things on and off the field. So it's a good system to be in too. He just needed some of the right players to turn his organization around, which he's trying to do right now.
Yeah. Now you just happened to mention it, and we'll go ahead and we'll go with that. There, you talk about disrespect. How does a team know that you have potential. Yet over the past couple weeks, you just haven't been able to get over that hump. You as a player, when you feel that you're being disrespected, not only by fans, opposing teams' fans, maybe home team fans, which we don't want to see, and from other teams themselves. How did it make you guys feel? I mean, how are you able to overcome just that feeling, or is it something you just can't? You just have to block out of your mind each week once practice starts, and then when it's game time comes.
Well, I know me personally, I really don't pay attention to a lot of social media stuff and what it's said about the LA Kiss. I mean, I'm just getting here myself, so
right.
It doesn't affect me as much because I haven't been, with the team last year and at the beginning of the year. So it doesn't affect me as much. I'm coming in here fresh. But some of the guys in the past, I'm pretty sure it had some type of effect on them. Probably lowered their confidence a little bit, but winning cures it all. Once you win a couple games, the confidence, you see the confidence starting to change, guys starting to believe again. And I feel like this team is actually, we believe we can win games now. And you'll see a different LA Kiss team when we touch the field now.
It's funny, even though the way that everybody may say that your conference may not be one of the stronger conferences, but you know what? It doesn't matter. You guys are still that just this close to being, you're still in the playoff race. And knowing that, where does it take your mindset? I mean, it's, you may be 2-9, but you're still in the hunt for a playoff spot. It really must motivate you guys to just continue and to run up the streak for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I don't know. I think we're a game and a half out the playoff. I'm not really sure. But, I mean, all we focusing on right now is the LA Kids. We got to focus on winning. If we win, every game out, I mean, we're going to get in the playoffs. So I feel like we control our own destiny.
Exactly.
And we just got to win. We're taking it 1 week at a time, 1 game at a time. And if we go out there and do what we have to do, execute the game plan, I think we'll come out victorious in a lot of these games going down the stretch.
Now, very interesting game this week. I don't know if you have marked it off on your calendar or not, Rayshaun, but I'll have something about to ask you. You're going up against the Philadelphia Soul, a team that, I guess, summarily let you go during the off season, and you went to Arizona afterwards, and so on and so on. How are you feeling going into this game versus a team that you used to play for?
I don't feel good about it. I'm pretty sure they know me just as much as I know them. And I know both sides will both be ready for the challenge. It'll be an interesting game. I think it'll be a fun game. We just see how it goes. May the best man win. That's all I say.
Very PC answer, Rayshaun. Which I can understand. It's just looking at your career, Rayshaun, right now. I mean, you have probably played in some of the biggest games in league history. You're one hell of a DB. You've had experience not only in the AFL but in other leagues, like the CFL is another example. You personally as a player, what is it like being able to continue to play football? I mean, I really don't ask this question of a player all that much, but knowing that you're still able to play football, even in the AFL, and just continue your football career.
It's a blessing. A lot of people take football for granted when you come in fresh in or when you're younger, you take football for granted. When you get a little older, you start appreciating the game and what it brings to your life and the difference you can make, to a lot of people and players. So I come up blessed every day when I wake up. A lot of people can't play football because of past injuries or, things that happened to them in the past. So, I mean, for me to still be playing at my age, I'm very grateful. And I come up blessed every day.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been asked as much of DBs that I've spoken with, but what's the feeling when you get that interception? I don't know if anybody has ever asked you that before. It may be a question you've been asked many a time, but what's it like? Not necessarily bringing it to house on a pick six, but I'm sure it feels a hell of a lot better when you do that, as you've done in your career. But what's it like to know that, you've gotten the better read, you've been able to make that jump and to get that interception? What's it like, in your mind, getting that interception during game day?
It's a great feeling because I feel like when you get an interception on game day, it's a momentum change. Like, all the momentum go towards your team, especially when you're at home. The fans behind you. It's just always a whole momentum change. I mean, your team gains confidence, other team lose confidence. And it's a big momentum swing, man. I feel like anytime you're going to get that game change and interception, it's going to have the team, possibly win that game.
Yeah. And you have them this year. I think if the stats we have are correct, you have 4 of them already. You brought 2 to the house. So, as I mentioned at the top of the interview, do you why do they still throw your direction, Rayshaun?
Because I cover the most, and in this league, 80% of the throws go to the most. So
yeah,
it's like you have no choice but to throw my way. And if you throw to the check downs and the stationaries, you're probably not going to put up as many points to score a lot of touchdowns. So I mean, you got to take your chances at that time. You can't throw away from it. You got to take your chances at that time.
Exactly. No, I fully understand. All right. Last question we have here. When you think of the fans, when you think of the LA KISS, if you were to tell fans of the league, fans of the LA KISS, one particular thing, could be anything at all, Rayshaun, about what you want to tell them about the LA KISS, what would it be?
We coming.
Nice.
Watch out for us.
Perfect. Short but sweet. All right. Well, Rayshaun, I want to thank you for joining us this week. If anybody wants to watch the game, they can. Philadelphia Soul at LA. It will be on the ESPN family of networks this week. It will be on ESPN2, so it's a national game. Rayshaun, greatly appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Guy seems very humble, doesn't he, Jim? I mean, considering the career that he has had, sounds like a guy who's felt like he's been a little bit disrespected on how he left Philadelphia. You know what? As I was saying before, I think I got a feeling that Dan Rodabaugh shouldn't throw his way this week because Rayshaun may just sort of he'll pick his pocket, so to speak. Eh? Jim, you there? Jim?
Tim, you there?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry about that, everybody.
That's okay.
I moved locations, and maybe the reception dropped. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, you were saying about Rayshaun. I really enjoyed the interview, especially the beginning of it, and how he was just talking about getting to LA and what they're doing in LA, and talking about respect. I think that got a little overlooked. Everyone in this league is a competitor, and it sounds silly to say it, but you play to win the game,
Right. Yeah.
So from that standpoint, it was fun to watch them knock off San Jose. I mean, that's why we watch sports. If we didn't want the excitement, we just pick a paper up and read the box scores in the morning, or turn on the internet and read the box scores. But you want to watch the game to be entertained and see what happens and see how the play progresses and what the players do. And it sounds like he's in a better place now. He's having fun, and good for Rayshaun, and it's going to be a fun challenge. You're right. The way he answered that question about playing Philadelphia, he answered it like I would catch a player up to answer a question.
Yeah. And I got a feeling he thinks that he has a lot to prove on this week. So it's on, as I mentioned, it's on national television, so it should be a good game. I actually think, as I said, a guy with his career that he's had. I mean, he's not third in career interceptions for nothing, right?
Correct. And the thing is, it's really not about Radamon either. It's going to be more about the different color on the players across the field from him. They're not wearing black, they're not wearing red and gold and fire and flames. They're wearing blue, and that's not the color he wears. And, I've had the opportunity to ask a lot of players this question. how do you deal with someone on the other sideline being your friend? Someone you maybe played high school football with, you played college football with, or you went to you went to China last year with some of these guys. You strike up friendships. What's it like? And it's amazing. The interests are across the board.
Yeah.
When you talk to these guys, some guys are like, we're just competitors. We're going to go out there and see who gets the best. Other guys are like, it's a different color, and once that whistle blows, I don't know you. We're not friends. And once the horn sounds at the end, we can shake our hands and go out and have dinner together. But between that, I don't like you.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a good interview. And seeing that point, as I said, it's very interesting to see, and I'm sure you've seen it before, too, for a guy who's able to get up for the first time. And you've had very many crossovers, too, when you think about it, especially this year, too, when it comes to crossovers who used to play for Tampa are now playing for Orlando, as an example. It's, as I said, it's something about those games I'm sure will get them up a little bit more than what it would be for a regular game during the week. Whether they mention it, whether they say it or not, I'm sure it gets them up a little bit more.
Oh, definitely. And I think the key for some of those players is you can't let it get you up too much and affect your mentally how you approach the game. Trying to do too much or let the anger out or let the beast out. You still have a job to do.
Right.
You got to go do it. And so, I think there was a lot of different things that Rayshaun touched on that were interesting to talk about. LA has become a better team. I think Coach Mack has become fodder, over the course of the end of last year and into this year for some of his past phrases.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. But he's still a good coach, and for that to come from a player who's been with, he was with Dozell, and then he was in, Arizona, and then he was in New Orleans, and now he's in LA. So for him to say, hey, B-Mac's a good coach, he's been around some, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And to be honest, most players will be honest with you about their coaches. So I think that's something that fans can kind of, especially if you're an LA KISS fan, you can take that to heart and feel like, okay, hey, things are starting to turn, the tide's going our way, we still have an uphill road, but we have tasted success, and maybe we got more to come.
Do not forget that we are on multiple platforms on social media. We are on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on YouTube. Hey, we're also on Meerkat. Also, do not forget that all of the archives for this year's AFL Tonight are available over on our SoundCloud page. Everything is /ArenaFan, except for YouTube, which is ArenaFan Online. Now, for a fan who lives in Canada and who has had to find different means in order for me to be able to watch the action each week in the AFL, I was actually very happy to see this announcement come across the wire yesterday, or was it Monday? Either way, earlier this week. So filmon.com, or some of you may know it, filmon.tv, and the AFL reached an agreement where FilmOn is going to be the international broadcast partner of the league. Now, for those of you who aren't in the U.S. and happen to be listening to the podcast or watching, or however you're watching us or listening to us, I did confirm with the league that there are no restrictions when it comes to the games. So my understanding is this. CBS games and ESPN games look like they will be included in this international broadcast agreement, which is, to me, is actually quite huge. For ESPN, you can talk to this more, for ESPN to allow basically a third-party broadcaster, a legitimate third-party broadcaster, to stream CBS network games, Sports Network games, and ESPN games, besides the rest of everything else that's come at ESPN3, that to me, that is a huge improvement on what is currently available for international fans. So what? So Jim, what do you think about what was announced?
I like it. You know, it's once again, it's another step in the right direction for the league. You know, I don't know how many international fans there are, but if you have international fans, this is a tremendous way to reach them. And I remember when I got the announcement, I forwarded it to you. And I was like, hey, I think you're going to dig this. I like it. You know, I don't know the mechanisms behind this, how it came about, but to me, it's a positive step in the right direction.
I think it may have come out from their current agreement, Jim, where, for those of you who may remember, there actually is an AFL Classics channel over at filmon.tv.
Yeah.
It hasn't been updated in quite a while. I think they're showing a lot of the games from last year, the NFL Network contract, but it is still something that wasn't forgotten. So I'm curious to see, first and foremost, how this is going to be set up. Because as of the taping of the show, they have not added anything yet to their current lineup of channels that are available on their platform. So I don't know how it's going to work. Will be this week and everything. You know, it's very interesting the way that it's said too, which I really didn't understand. I want your opinion on this, Jim. Is that they're going to broadcast every game through week 20 and the playoffs. Didn't that wording seem a little weird to you?
Yeah, it did. I don't know if that was someone didn't proof it well. It sounded odd to me too. I don't know or have much else to comment on it because I'm not sure why it was worded that way. Maybe I have a question for you, Tim.
Yeah.
To be honest, I haven't utilized that platform previously.
Okay.
It makes all the games available to you. When they say international, is there a block on the United States? Can I, as a fan, now access all these games and
without using the ESPN3 type of login and stuff like that? That's actually a very, very good question, because for those of you who don't know, myself being in Canada, I do not have access to the ESPN3 feed, ESPN3.com feeds by the normal means, because the channel's not available here in Canada, nor is the site. The broadcasts aren't available. That's a very good question to ask, actually, because will it be like a reverse block for us? This seems really weird, but would a US based fan have to use a Canadian VPN in order to watch these games on there? That's a very good question, because when it comes to their current platform, I have no problem being able to watch the AFL Classics, Jim, at all. None at all. It's almost like YouTube. Unless YouTube does have some restrictions per country, but that's a very good question. Might have to follow up with the league or with Filmon to find out if we can get that question answered. Very good question.
I was reading how it's worded, and it talks about being outside the United States, and so I was just. And it makes a point to say every single game will be available to international fans absolutely free.
Right.
Fabulous, love it. But what about? I don't know if that means that people in the States are blocked or not.
It's good. I'll have to find out. I guess it'll be, for once, I will have to verify with my friends in the U.S. if they do or don't have access to this. So Maybe it will be, if you have a US IP address, you may be blocked. It's very possible. So if it's up and running this week, which I'm guessing it will, then I'll have to follow up with other.
Well, I guess you're going to be busy working your network of contacts throughout the world.
Yes. My little black book. Yeah, but no, I think it's a good thing for fans outside of the U.S. I don't know if it would make a dent. It depends on and the streaming quality is quite good. The weird thing too, I think if they'll still allow it, you can actually chat from what I'm seeing on that thing. So what will it pull away from chat rooms like we have, or chat rooms that people, when they talk on Facebook or from the league message boards? Will it hurt the ratings? Well, I don't think it can. It can't hurt the ratings for ESPN and all of them, considering that technically it is for international fans. So I don't know. We'll have to take it. We'll have to see it as it comes, because as I said, as the taping, nothing's up yet. So we'll take it from there.
Yeah, we'll find out and we'll let the fans know.
Yep. So we did ask you guys to send us some questions. It's a little bit light this week, but that's okay. We do thank any of you who went ahead and sent us a question. If you happen to be in the Meat Rat room right now watching us do the live taping, go ahead and send us a question right now. I know a few of you have. And I will try to answer the questions as best as possible. I know there was a question Jim asked us late last week, and let's see if I can find it here. And it's just a question of, can we answer it? Let's see. Interesting. From Jeff Pingle, and I don't know if we can really comment. He's actually wondering about Brett Boucher, and will he be back in the AFL? With all honesty, Jeff, it's very hard to gauge. If somebody is out of the AFL, if they go out, what seem to be voluntarily, you sell your shares in a particular team, then you will most likely not want to come back for whatever the particular reason is. Can't really mention it. I know his brother obviously is highly, highly involved in the AFL, being with the Jacksonville Sharks. But other than that, I really can't. I really don't know. I don't know either. I know what we heard and read about his departure in Los Angeles. I don't know if everyone takes that at face value or not. I do know from speaking with Brett, he does have a passion for the game. He's been a part of the league for a long time. I guess the easiest way to say it is it would not surprise me to have him come back or see him involved in some capacity in the near future. I would not be surprised. No, I wouldn't be either. And you're a former owner, you're a part owner. I mean, sometimes you do want to get back into it, especially you've been around the league as much as possible. And
let's not forget, after the league took the hiatus year in 2009, Brett played an integral part in bringing the league back and being a force behind, propping it back up again and getting the teams going. He had a big role in that. So that was a big part of his life, and I can genuinely see him finding some way, somehow, to coming back and being involved again. Yeah.
No, I'd forgotten about how strong of a part he was when it comes to the getting the league back up and running through the bankruptcy proceedings, et cetera, et cetera. So, and considering all the teams that he was involved with in the past. So, question 2 is from Thomas Campbell, Jim. He is asking us, we were just talking about the Film On Networks agreement, which will allow for more worldwide distribution of AFL games. Any chance this might allow for the AFL China League, so the CAFL, games to be available in the U.S. to fans over here? That's actually a very good question.
Well, I'm inclined to say yes, And the first thing you have to realize is they're two different, separate, distinct entities.
Mm-hmm.
Different people behind each one. That being said, it does open the door for those in China to watch AFL games now, legally.
Yeah.
And to help bolster CAFL efforts, and vice versa. I would think it would open that door, but you also have to remember you're dealing with a different government over there, and I use the word government because you're dealing with the government over there. You're not really working with a board of directors. The state is going to help run that league.
Right.
China's behind it, the government's behind it. It's being propped up. That kind of changes the dynamics a little bit. But yes, certainly, it does make it seem as if that would be a greater reality.
And I agree with you. I think it would be a huge coup. Obviously, we'll find out next year. They're still in the, as it was announced recently, that they are only going to start in 2016. But it could be very interesting. I mean, I remember I was one of the ones who was watching. We were able to find the actual legit live stream from the game in China, and it was great to watch. So we'll have to see with Lou Tilley involved, Lou Tilley Media, etc. Marty Judge, I'm sure they'll get everything, all their T's crossed and the I's dotted for sure. We'll have to. Again, we have probably got to wait about a year, unfortunately, to find out if anything of that will come about. But maybe we'll hear before that. You never know. Let's see here. Well, we'll talk about it. Jordan Ant, you asked us a quick question talking about LA. We'll get that into the minute. But other than that, I think that's all the questions we had this week. So I want to thank you guys, as usual, for sending us questions. We like to answer them if possible. Now, we're talking about looking at what's left. Well, nothing much more than to go over week 13 of the AFL. Games all this weekend, starting with Tampa Bay Storm traveling to the Cleveland Gladiators gym, and it is on, the Cavaliers Appreciation Night or something to that effect. If anybody's been watching, Cleveland's going to be wearing uniforms and helmets with the colors of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who just recently got beat by the Golden State Warriors for the NBA championship. But Tampa Bay comes into this game quite hot, but it's just a matter of will it continue versus Cleveland?
I think it's the same story we've been talking about all year, and even last week. The continuity. Up, down, win, lose, up, down. Consistency. Are they going to find it? I think for those who watch the game, you had the commentators, J.B. Long and Anthony Herron, and they were talking about the Tampa Bay Storm and how teams need to keep an eye out for that. I think what they mean by that, and if you watch the game, is as much as it's a heckle and why am I? Yes.
That.
Exactly.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Jekyll and Hyde team. They have the ability to put some points up on a team quickly and fast and furious. I don't know how many people know this. They went no huddle in the first half, and they executed it nearly to perfection. Especially if you look at Jason Fultis and his numbers with his completion percentage, he's not one that's been north of 60% most of the season. In that first half, he was nearly perfect. And then that game was, a tale of two halves. You had the third highest or second highest scoring half of football in Arena League history.
Yeah.
And then the next half, a combined 21 points. they dominated them earlier. A big part of the domination Cleveland had earlier this season against Tampa Bay was their pass rush. They took a big hit to their pass rush with Tim Sheetwood being put on IR last week, and they have a couple other guys on the line that are dinged up this week. So I think that leaves the door open, but we need to see some consistency and continuity, particularly out of Jason Bolt, if they're going to take this one from the Gladiators. And I do want to say kudos to their front office for doing the appreciation night with the uniforms. Their front office does a spectacular job of presenting a fun atmosphere, a good game, a good product to the fan.
Yeah.
And kudos to them for what they're doing up there in Cleveland.
Saturday, and I know to remind people, Jim does not ever make a prediction when it comes to the Tampa Bay games. So my prediction, I'm putting Cleveland in this one. Coach Samuels has never beaten the Cleveland Gladiators since he's been head coach, and I think that will continue. Orlando travels to Arizona on Saturday for the CBS Sports Network Game of the Week.
I'm kicking myself for not saying it last week. Of all the teams I thought could be upset, San Jose was not one of them, but Philadelphia was. I wish I had said it. I didn't, so it sounds like I don't know, sour grapes or what the word is.
Oh, too little, too late.
Exactly. You know what? You had also asked me about Orlando at the beginning of the show last week.
Right.
And are we to be concerned with Orlando? And I kind of hemmed and hawed, and I just put it very simply, like a former Arizona Cardinals coach said, they are who we think they are.
Right.
And once again, I'm going to pick Arizona, but Orlando can win this game. There's no reason they can't. Once again, East Coast to West Coast travel is tough. Arizona's starting to get healthy again.
Yeah.
They still need some work. The wide receivers, they're starting to get consistent play. Wizards back, Reed's consistent. They're missing White, so they're doing well. But I think Arizona has the capability of taking it to a whole other level. They're not there yet. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. Can they do it? I don't know. Do they need to do that to beat Orlando? No, but Orlando's a team of some resiliency, and they find ways to win tough games. They lose some you think they shouldn't. They win some you think they shouldn't. But to me, all indications point to the Rattlers in this one. I'd say Rattlers by 6.
You look at this, and Nick Davila had a very it was a generic week for him. I mean, yes, it was only 4 touchdowns, but only 146 yards passing. This is a different team.
Well, it wasn't just that. His accuracy. He was pedestrian.
Yeah. That's a good word too. Pedestrian's a very good word. But yeah, I mean, Orlando does seem to be one of the surprises, at least right now. I mean, for them to knock off Philadelphia like they did last week. Again, I'm just going to go with it's tough to win in the snake pit. I kind of agree with you, probably about 6 or 7 points that I think Arizona will win this one. But I'm guessing this game will be a good game. It's not going to be, it's not going to be as easy as it was versus Portland last week in Arizona's last win. So we talked about this earlier before, quite a bit recently, actually. And Philadelphia, coming off that very surprising loss, travels to a very different LA KISS team. It's hard, and I know people will be laughing at me and say, come on, they're 2-9, Tim. Look at what this team has done. Something tells me, and just by talking to Rayshaun this past week, this team has a totally different mentality. Philadelphia is flying out west also. It's just a matter of how it's going to turn out. Also, by the way, this game is on ESPN2, as we mentioned before. This will be the first time that I can remember, besides having the NBC days, where we were going to have 2 nationally televised games that are going to overlap.
I think that happened 2 weeks ago, Tim, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Weren't they just? I think one was at 6 and the other one was at 10.
No, I'm pretty sure there was. No, well, I'll have to double check. I was pretty sure there was in the press box they had an AFL game going on while we were watching the game at Emily Arena.
Okay. But going
but still,
yeah.
Your point, the point you're trying to make is, we have more opportunities for viewership, and now fans, they have to make a choice or use multiple tablets and iPads and TVs to watch both games.
Hey, I take 2 games on TV at any time at the same time, so it's we know the numbers for ESPN have been pretty steady, but that's another talk for another show. But heading over to the game itself, though, Jim, which LA team will show up? I mean, remember, this is the team that's coming off this huge win, and sometimes teams do have letdowns after a huge win.
Yes. Let me throw it back. Actually, which Philly team shows up and make a little fun of myself? They're a Heckle and Jekyll type of team too.
Yeah.
They thoroughly massacred the Tampa Bay Storm a couple weeks ago, and then they botched that game against Orlando. Are the LA KISS on the Orlando Predators level? I think most people will say no, but they're headed in an upward direction. Plays improve.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it in past seasons where a team can turn their season around, and literally you just have to get into the dance. And once you're there, then you can find the pretty girl and dance with her. But genuinely, if Philly plays like they're capable of, they should handle the KISS. And it's just, Radiball is going to be consistent, and the defensive line can get some pressure. I like Philly. I just don't know by how much. Maybe 10. I think the question to me is, and what I'm interested to see and watch is how much did the KISS really improve? If they can swing, against 2 quality opponents, back-to-back solid games, that's telling me something for the LA KISS.
Right. It should be an interesting game. I think Philadelphia and coaches out there, they're going to be pissed. I really do. And I think this will be one of those games where it will be a let-down game for LA, and everyone will think, oh, well, they're just back to normal. I think this game will be a lot closer, though, than a lot of people are thinking. I know through our spread picker game here at ArenaFan, our fans are putting it Philadelphia at 10.5 points. I actually don't know what the actual line is for this game. I seriously don't think it's going to be along the lines of 30. Started off at 37 points last week and ended up being at 32. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't.
I agree.
I think it'll be. I think it's either way. Philadelphia is going to win the game, but I think this will be a totally different LA team going forward, and I think we will see it this week.
I think that's the big thing. Previously, they were just getting blown out. They weren't competitive.
Right.
That changes things. If win or lose, if they're competitive, that says something about the character and the makeup of that team and what Coach McMillan's being able to do to instill in those players.
Right. The Saturday, 2 games on Saturday. San Jose coming off that shocking loss. We just don't know who's going to be starting at quarterback yet for San Jose. Is going to be facing the expansion Las Vegas Outlaws. Will Las Vegas be the second team to knock off San Jose in a row? Or is this San Jose team just going to come out and just run all over this?
I'm going to go out on
team?
a limb and answer your question with a no. I will say this. Not even for an expansion team. One of the things that I've been impressed with Las Vegas is how competitive they've been. I don't know if I expected that from the team, particularly being expansion team.
Yeah.
Aaron Garcia has lit a fire. They've had their issues. They have a quarterback that is intriguing to watch. I think that's a fair way to say that and a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
He makes mistakes, but he also makes some plays. He up and down. So what's really bolstered them is their special teams. But people forget, when you talk about arena football, the thing people want to talk about are the nets, the boards, and the high motion. But if you make a comparison between the NFL and the AFL, special teams plays a larger role in the Arena Football League than it does in the NFL. When you look at the snaps, number of offensive plays, number of defensive plays, and how many special teams plays you have, it's nearly a third.
Right.
And so I think that's one thing that gets overlooked quite a bit, and they've done a solid job in Las Vegas with their special teams, and I think that's helped them to stay competitive in their games. I think that's fun to hear, but
yeah,
that's the truth of the matter. Their kick returners, they perform well, and that's kept them in games.
Right. I think, I it's all good and said, but I still think San Jose is I think they're gonna take something out of them. It won't matter. I don't think it will matter in any way, shape, or form. Although you were talking,
no, I agree too. I'm going by 14.
Yeah, you're talking about special teams and whatnot coming up in the last game of the week, and which I had forgotten. This is the week we have 3 nationally televised games. This game, Spokane at Portland, is going to be broadcast on ESPN2 at 10 o'clock on Sunday. This hasn't happened. We're having 3. I think this is only the first time. It's either the first or second time in league history where we've had 3 nationally televised games. And I think it dated back to the NBC days with the regional telecasts. But talking about special teams, Portland has a great guy doing kick returns in Dwayne Brooks. He is on a pace to shatter multiple records when it comes to returning. But the question is, though, will that be enough in order to beat a somewhat down Spokane Shock team?
Man, I don't know, but I do know that this has turned into a nice little rivalry between these two teams. You saw that Spokane brought back Norvell.
Right.
I don't see him starting. Like I said last week, they really like Warren Smith and think they can do something with him. But it takes time for a rookie, a young quarterback to develop. And you see their pains, and I think that really highlights the need or the importance of having a solid quarterback on your team. Losing Meyer really changed the complexity of that team and the outlook for them this season. To be honest, I don't know what to make of Portland. I don't see them being north of good.
Right.
But they have some things that work for them and some things that they do well. But the rest of it just it is in Portland. I'm going to go Spokane on this one, but I wouldn't be shocked if Portland won.
You look at just checking the stats for Warren Smith. He's been absolutely outstanding. He really has. And when it comes to they've had the same struggles that Portland has when it comes to quarterbacks this past year too. So it's agreed. Losing Eric Meyer was a huge blow. But that being said, Portland going up against Arizona last week, Kyle Raleigh basically being pulled for Alex Carter. I think this is something where Smith has a little bit more experience than if it is Carter who's going to start, which I'm guessing it might be just based on the performance last week. That I think Spokane will win. I think Spokane really needs to win this game. It's been, as I said, it's been a very down year for them. But I'm going to pick Spokane on this one too. I sound so I sound so convincing.
Yeah, I know.
So, well, that's it for the schedule this week. Remember, there are 2 games on bye week, so anybody who is taking part in the fantasy games this week, whether it be the deluxe fantasy or the pick'em or whatever it may be, do not forget the New Orleans and Jacksonville. Jacksonville to me is a huge change, so adjust your rosters accordingly. And for once, I am going to give. No, is it this week? It's not this week. So no, I'm going to hand it to you. So I'm going to do the shout out next week. Any last words, Jim, before we finish up the show?
Women's World Cup. Go USA.
I will admit I saw my first World Cup game this past week on Monday. I was able to watch Canada tie the Netherlands. It was a great atmosphere over at the Olympic Stadium, and just seeing that little bit at the Olympic Stadium is hard enough as it is. But yeah, it should be good if you have a chance. Catch and watch the games and support your countries. Support your home country accordingly. So for everybody here at AFL Tonight, for Jim Robinson, I'm Tim Capper. Watch the rebound off the net. All you guys on Meerkat, thanks a lot. We greatly appreciate you guys showing up. This is why we do the show. We do it for you guys. And next week, if everything goes according to plan, Jim may be back, but we will, if there's any changes, we'll announce it going forward. So if this does tape, which we're hoping it does for Meerkat, we hope to have it up on YouTube very shortly. But in the meantime, if you miss any part of the show, head over to SoundCloud or to iTunes, and you'll be able to hear the entire show from this week. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.